Hey trendsetters, we're back. We're back. I know that you guys missed us. I am here with the ultimate social worker, Simone Muchette. She's the one. We rolling this out. We rolling this out because we got a great lineup for you guys. We got a lot of really good things coming for you this season. And, we just wanted to come on and let you guys know what we've been up to for the summer. We didn't go dark. We didn't go dark. We were in the background doing some stuff. And, I really want to talk to Simone about some of the stuff that she was working on and some of the stuff that we'll be collaborating on. So welcome, Simone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you? How
Exactly.
are you?
I
How are
am
you?
well. I am well. I'm well. It's good to be back. I'm excited for our series of conversations.
Yes.
This summer, I spent a lot of the summer working with the young people, boots on the ground. In the beginning of the year, I started a men's mental health initiative. And so as the summer came approaching, I started a boys wellness group. So that was cute. We took the boys to the park and Brave Calisthenics showed them some fitness workouts. And then that led me into wanting to do a debutante program because I felt like it was important. After working with the boys a little more closely, I started to recognize that the way us as ladies or women interact with them, interact with them with a misconception or a misperception of where they may be coming from as a boy or a male. And I felt the need to reinforce or reteach the idea of lady and gentleman and what that means and what those behaviors actually look like and what does it mean to have a standard for yourself and why those standards, should be upheld or how they should be upheld. And I was able to spend 6 amazing weeks with five young people ranging from age 6 to 15, um, to talk through their identity, things that they believe that they like and don't like, or feel why they should feel what they feel. And we took the characteristics of what lady and a gentleman was, and they were able to assess like how you feel and how you behaved in that situation. Does it line up with the characteristic of a lady or a gentleman that you
Mhm.
say that you want to embody? And they were able to practice that in the way that they look, like how they dress, how they communicate, and how they behave. So that was dope. And we are doing a fundraiser to get our kids to Gulf Coast, Mississippi. They are doing Fashion Week there,
Nice.
and they'll be walking with me in a Victorian court for this benefit fashion show. I'll be a Duchess. It's a Bridgerton theme, and so they're
Nice,
gonna be
nice, nice.
making crowned the Prince and Princess of New York. And I'm the elite model queen for New York, so it's gonna be dope to walk next to them and have that. They're so excited, like the empowerment is so crazy that not that rhyme is changing its mission, but I think that right now, um, empowering our young people or just empowering our community is so important right now. But the kids, they really need it. Like they so smart and they have so much access to such information, but they are afraid to walk any of it out. Like they're not empowered to walk any of it out. And this experience, it's almost like they didn't believe that they could get a trip to Mississippi or like they would get a crown. So when it was, they were like doing it with one foot in, one foot out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
I
got
don't
that.
know.
I got
Now
that.
it's
I got
like, yeah, like it's really happening. Like Miss Simone kept her promise. And it's like that was a lesson that I started I'm gonna take and bring it back to the parents. It's like we have to be careful when we are promising our kids stuff or we're trying to give them an incentive that we know we may not fulfill and having them invest in that because that's like really where you start to lose them. But I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. And the suicide walk is coming up, year 7. That's
Yes.
what's happening. You all anyone has to do is just donate to register. They have until the 18th to register, and we'll be out there on the 20th. Again, I hope trendsetters will be able to come back. I know y'all popped in last year. But how was your summer, Miss Heidi? You've been working, you had some young people I saw posting videos.
I did, and before I start with that, I want to talk to you more about some of the stuff that you had going on because you just touched on some things that were so important, and I think that once people understand really entirely what work goes into you working with the youth and what we're doing, then they'll be more inclined on getting other youth involved with our program. So I want to scale back and ask you more about the boys' wellness. What gave you that idea to step into that? Because, like you said, this is something different. This is something, a whole different space for you right now. So, what gave you that idea? What nudged you to want to tap into boys and male wellness?
I think that's a great question. I always wanted to help children, right? I came into the education world as a teacher. I did New York Teaching Fellows, Citizen Schools Fellows. So I came into adulthood or into the profession as an educator who wanted to educate kids. At that time, I just wanted to educate Black kids. That was the thing, representation, educating our kids. And when I got into the classroom, the realities of life hit from very year one.
Absolutely.
There's a big disproportionate way in which we handle our male students in the school system versus our female students. It's systemic. Um, and so from year one, just with the heart of wanting to make sure I teach all my kids, I found that I was advocating heavier for my male students.
And why is that? What are some of the things that you noticed? What made the difference in your observation? Like, I had time to teach in early childhood as well. So, and I do know it is something that's systemic in public school, versus, early
Mhm.
childhood. So I want talk to me about that. What does that mean?
Well, I feel like the biggest systemic blaring piece is the mindset, right? We don't look at boys as boys. We look at them as potential criminals in the school system, and that
Mhm.
sets the tone for everything. My
Yes.
very first year, I had shared this testimony because that's really where it started. I had a student, amazing kid in my class. It was my first year teaching sixth grade. So cute, very bright kid, and apparently when he was walking home from school, he was getting bullied or picked on by boys. Now, nobody knows this because we not walking home with him. But
Right.
he comes into my class like he's amazing, he's well mannered, he does his work. I don't got no issues with him.
Hmm.
One day I get subpoenaed to go to court, and I'm confused how I'm getting subpoenaed. So I go, the principal is telling me like what's going on and what it's about. And apparently, there was a day he was upset, and I spoke to him. I saw him; he was in math class, some other class, and I saw him in the hallway. And I said, "What's going on? What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "This girl got on my nerves, and now I'm getting in trouble. Whatever, whatever." Calmed him down. It just seemed like something regular, but apparently, the same young lady that got him upset, um, he pulled out a knife on her, and
Mm.
that's what caused the issue. So now he was getting suspended, and his family were now subpoenaing me to be a character witness. The thing about it is, when I learned about the case, he was being bullied, and he put the knife in his bag for protection.
Hmm.
And it just so happened, in the midst of the stress and all the things, the girl was bothering him. She didn't want to listen to leave him alone. So he just took it out, like, leave me alone, kind of thing. Like,
Hmm.
they're in sixth grade.
Hmm.
How old are you in sixth grade? 10, 11 years old. Like,
Right.
I want
Right.
people to get the concept of it because they make our boys seem like they're not little kids. Like, they're doing grown up behaviors to solve little kid problems. You know what I mean? And that's what
But
gets.
bullying is not even a little kid's problem, and we know that, right?
No. Don't
Right.
don't get me wrong, but I mean like the way that they're viewing
Understand,
problems
right,
to to
right. To
to solve the
understand how to navigate through going through those certain, adversities. Yeah.
right. It
Yeah.
didn't come like, let me tell my mom about it. It's like, nah, I
Right.
need to get a knife. I need to protect. It's like big guy energy, masculine energy coming out. And it's like, but little boy, like if you tell your mom she'll protect you and that problem will be solved. But their mindset of, so I have to do everything on my own. I gotta be a big boy. I gotta man up. I got, and
And
it's like,
maybe it is because of issues that's going on at home too, right? Maybe he can't discuss those type of problems with, because parents are very dismissive as well,
mm-hmm,
right? How can you tell, especially with males, right? Males have to man up. It's not a understanding, it's not a sensitivity to what's going on, right? So if I'm
yeah.
getting bullied in school and I'm 11 years old, 10 years old, you got to man up. You taught to
But
go and handle your business. You
but
understand?
even in that aspect, yes, but it's like, who is sending that messaging to
Right,
them? And
right,
where's the first messaging of that coming from? You know what
right,
I mean?
right,
That's what's scary because school, that's what they're sending, even though
right.
they're not directly sending it, but that's how they make them feel. And then outside with all the other stuff adds on to that. So that was like my first real experience with that, and it rocked me from that year because I just seen more different other cases and things like that. I was 22, so as a first year teacher, 22, you don't expect to be like subpoenaed 2 months in, like, so it started off real fast, the difference between the boys even up until year, what was that, I'm on year 13, Miss Heidi, before I step away, there was something with boys and touching. Right? They just don't look at boys as children. The same issue could happen with a boy and a girl. The girl will always get grace, the boys will always get punished.
Yes.
There's never a conversation of what's
Yes,
going
and
on
it's
inside.
severe. It's the penalties are really, really severe,
Mhm.
and where sometimes police are even involved,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yes.
and this is where we call our public school systems the pipeline
Hmm.
to incarceration, the pipeline to prison, because of the way that our young males are being handled, and this is in a sense exactly the reason why that you decided to step in and let me, let just be a bridge and
Hmm.
let, you know, as far as my program, it's let kids be kids
Yes. Yes. That's it.
and let them understand that they can be free in that. You understand what I'm saying? It's not something that you have to protect. It's not something that you have to, you know, be ashamed of. You young and it's okay. You can have fun. You can explore and providing safe spaces where they can come into themselves and
Mhm.
and, and guide them, positively into understanding what that means, understanding, being a male, being a female, being young,
Right.
because one thing that you said was they have so much placed on them at such a young age. There's so much responsibility placed on our young men at such a young age that they skip over thoughts.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And that's how come that young man felt as though he needed to, he got to man up. He got to do what he got to do. He got to strap. And that's why some of these 8-year-olds got to get strapped up. Some of these 8-year-olds are walking around with guns and knives and, all kind of things because they got to man up. You know,
Yep.
you- as you said, it's one thing we got the pipeline to prison going on in school, but then when outside of school, in the environment and in some of our homes.
Hmm.
This is, it's the circulation of this constant message.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And then the second part of the gap that motivated me to like, okay, I'm gonna go full throttle with this. So that was the beginning. You see the years pass. I run boys group, girls group, all the things. I always love boys group more. It's always funny. But then I did a men's camp because Rhyme also like men do not gravitate to services. They always say there's no services for boys or no services for men, but then they don't show up. So women, we are more naturally willing to take on those type of services and those experiences, and the same showed in Rhyme. So unless it was a young man that I personally had a connection with, they weren't signing up for a Rhyme. And I try to open it up to men. And so I had to intentionally invite certain men that I felt would benefit and trusted me enough to do it. And I wanted them to do it alongside the young men. So it was half adults and half kids. And what I saw was that my expectation, even with the summit, it was even more clear. My expectation of the adult men was that they would be able to teach, guide, or support the boys in this process of communicating their emotions and having a safe space. No, they were
No,
stuck because they didn't know how to do it themselves.
no.
That's when I was like, oh, this call is deeper, bigger, and on a whole other level. I had to step back, and that's why I've been a little bit more quiet in how but I'm still promoting it in the background. But I
Mhm.
have to now decide like which population I'm gonna pick, because I was
Absolutely.
trying to seek the men as partners in it, but even though they don't want to admit that they were not qualified to be partners, they're not, because of the same thing. They are
Right.
embarrassed to admit. They don't feel like, oh, if I say that I can't teach a boy how to be a man, then I'm not man enough, or like whatever that masculine
I get it. I
struggle
get
they
it.
got going
I get
on.
it.
And I
I
was
get
like,
it.
wow, I have to honor that, and fall back, and how do we communicate to really make men feel safe right
Right.
now?
Right. Because right now, what we see in our Black men are bleeding men,
Mm,
right? And there's men that have sustained so many wounds, so many things that have been systematically, emotionally, environmentally placed these wounds that they're just bleeding out all over the place. And yeah, because you physically a man,
yeah.
that don't mean that you're mentally a man.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Right. So we're looking, and I know that the space that you in, because I've done similar things. So
Mhm.
you do have to step back and really know an individual that you're putting in front of these young men, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because they're going to glean whatever it is that they're bringing to the forefront.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because some of these young kids, some of these youth don't even have a man, whether it's a bad role model or a good role model, don't have a male figure that's willing to take the time and spend the time with them. So it doesn't, and and men know this. So they're willing to step up, but they're stepping up in their brokenness,
That part. Yes. Yes. And
right?
even further, I think that there's some fulfillment that they are seeking to be able to maybe give
Absolutely.
someone something that they didn't get. But it's like you're not healed, friend. Like you
Right,
give.
you're not healed from your 8-year-old wounds. You're not healed from those things. So it's hard for you. You're trajectory, you're projecting
Mhm.
that into these individuals.
Mhm.
And you want healing for them, through them. You want
Mhm.
healing through them. And you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. So
But
yeah,
the
I think that is excellent. I think that is excellent that you touched on two really major things in our communities.
Mhm.
These are really hard truths
Yes.
in
Yeah.
our communities, and I think that wow, this breeds so much. It breeds into masculine women.
Mhm. Yeah. It goes on like, and I did the
We could
reflection.
go on. This is a whole nother topic. We can't. Let me come
Yes.
back to the youth. Let's come back to the. That's a whole. We gonna look like you said. Let's visit that on another day.
Yeah,
Let's
but
visit.
bringing it back to the youth, I did, meditate on it, and I realized there's hope. I'm focusing on youth. That's my niche, and I can still focus on boys. I think part of me felt insecure, or I guess not authentic, to think that I could train a man, or like in a way, like guide a boy into manhood. I didn't feel like I could do that. But this year showed me that no, they need it. Like that's why like God
Somebody got to do
the
it.
help,
Look.
right?
Somebody got to do
But
it.
like
Somebody
no,
got.
but even still, but it's not even just a somebody. It's just the fact that literally most of the men, the grown men, the little men, we all was in agreement that my mama raised me. Like men, like our culture is almost like men are allowed to be absent, and now we're seeing the consequence of
Right.
allowing them to be.
That's why I said to you, that somebody got to do it because, I remember when I was a single parent, right? And I said to myself, I'm raising men. So
Mhm.
I stepped into that masculine role myself.
I
You
get it.
understand
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because I needed my male children to be structured as men.
Yeah.
So I took on that identity. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah, I did drop some of my femininity
Yeah.
because I had to step up. I'm the bread maker, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other, because I needed to enforce these things into my males, right?
Yeah.
However, there's things that really go on with men in development, psychologically, emotionally, that women can't really hone into,
Yeah.
and it's simple things.
Mhm.
The first time my son got an erection, what the heck am I going to do with that? You understand? Go run that underwater. You know, I don't know what to do with the. I don't got one of those. You understand what I'm saying? So there are certain things, there are certain situations where you do need the guidance. Men do need men, and I'm not going to stray away from that. Men do need men, but we don't need broken men. We need men that's going to come up to the forefront, that really have went through a different avenue of healing, a different avenue of knowledge, a different avenue of acceptance, and knowing what role they're stepping into and how influential
Yeah.
they are if they're going to step into that role for the younger generation, right?
Mhm.
Let's talk about this debutante thing. I think that was such a dope idea when you told me about it. I was like, oh my goodness, she's doing the debutantes. Tell me about that.
You
Now
know
we
what?
got girls.
There's
Now
girls
we
in it too. Yeah, it's actually more girls than boys. um, yeah, the reason why I did that is because I honestly reflected on how much modeling empowered me and how much the
mm,
kids thought it was cool. You know what I mean? When I did my
mm,
first pageant and I wasn't at work for a couple of days, the kids were like, "Where were you? You did what?" And they're like, "Did you win?" Or like when the suicide walk was on News 12 and I had on my little sash or whatever, like the kids, they let me know that they're watching me. And so with Rhyme, Resilience Camp is not a program that's supposed to be done here. I have not done it here. People think that the little events we do is Rhyme Camp. It's not. It's taking the kids away to the Poconos on a retreat. And so I felt like I wanted to engage kids this summer, but I didn't want to pretend like I'm going to do a rhyme camp here because that's not what it was. And I said, you know what, let's do something more fun. Like if it's summer, you want to do SEL, mental health, I want that for them. But I also want them to feel like they are having fun. I miss enrichment. I miss when we used to dress up and go to the talent shows
mm,
and see the kids. The family would come, oh, such and such has a recital on this day. Did you get your tickets? You got to get five. Like I miss that type of community. I've been seeing bring back the village, bring back the village, and doing this program, making it nice and tight, 6 weeks. Parents had to be trained in alignment, all that stuff, and we had a showcase. Black business, bone business in Flint.
mm.
I try to keep all the things in alignment, and the parents loved it. They felt special. It was an intimate experience.
Oh, I love it.
Councilmember Chris Banks came and was a guest judge. We had Miss Black USA.
Yes, I did see that. I did see
Yeah,
that.
she also
Yeah.
ran for represented New York and Miss USA a couple weeks ago. She came like it was such an alignment. One of our judges were missing, but then there was a judge there that there was a woman there from a DV program that came with council member Banks, and I was like, "Oh, would you be willing to jump in?" And she was like, "Yeah, actually, like our cause is DV, right?" And so she was like, "I run a DV program." And so it was just a
Um,
great space overall. But what
mm,
I think the biggest takeaway was seeing how excited the parents were. And that filled my heart because coming from a school, I see how many like events that we plan for kids that's supposed to be good for them mentally, that's good to help build them up. And because like they maybe made a mistake during the day or made a mistake, somewhere else, it just gets stripped from them and they never really get to build
mm,
seem they were supposed to build because every time something that they were looking forward to was supposed to happen, it got taken away because they made a mistake or a poor choice in a different aspect of their life. So it was really important to me to finish strong, to have it look as nice, get quality people
mm,
involved,
mm,
and
mm,
also be like, now we're going to Mississippi. We're going to get this money. like God will it. God gonna make it happen
Yeah,
because they work
absolutely,
it and they
absolutely.
deserve it. And even the parents are like excited, and the parents learn too. I'm gonna have testimonial videos from the parents coming up soon. But what blessed me the most is one parent was like, I learned that my son over here needs a different type of attention. I knew that he needed it, but I didn't really know what kind it was. And now I know that with the other two, they a little different, they twins, but I know that okay, I can mentally start preparing that they might need different things, even though they're twins.
Hmm.
They all
Hmm.
have different personalities as
Yes,
they grow.
yes, yes.
Parents be wanting to lump all the kids in one to make it easier and convenient for them. But then people's spirits and their light start to get impacted,
Definitely,
constantly
definitely,
being forced to do things they
definitely,
don't want to do. And that's just
definitely.
anybody.
And we dealing with time management too, right? Because I know when I was raising my boys, one was a pro athlete and the next one was a nerd. But it was easier for me to,
Put
poor
them on
kid.
the sports.
It was easier for me while I was there, on the basketball field, on the football team, to throw my younger one in there. And when I realized that this was not going to work, I remember one year we were at the basketball game with this poor kid, and they passed him the ball, and he was standing there looking at the cheerleaders. He was not nowhere. That ball went right over, and I was like, "No, this is not going to
Not
work.
gonna work.
This is not going to work. We're not doing we're not doing this." And everybody was like calling out his name, like, "Hey, hey, hey." And I was like, you know what? This is not going to work. So I had to accept that. But you're right. Each kid has its own, dynamic way of doing things. And, I love the fact that you brought up something that resonated with me, especially doing my program, this summer, is that they're so ready. They're
Mhm,
so ready for somebody to be, you know, consistent.
mhm,
Another thing that you brought up that really, really, truly it was great to hear you say was that the parents were involved. They took their time and they came and they supported their kids. If people only understood how much of a difference that makes,
mhm,
even if you show up once,
mhm.
that makes such a difference in that child's in his confidence, in his the way that he or she just understands, themselves,
Yeah.
and will give themselves an opportunity, just be on how you just showed up that one time. So I love the fact that you made space to embrace and incorporate your parents into the whole scheme of things. That was definitely, something I wanted to ask you, and it's something that we've spoken about before, but now that we doing this is what's rhyme? You've been saying it rhyme, 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 but we reaching out to a broader audience now, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people that isn't familiar with rhyme. What is rhyme? I see you got the cap on. I should have
I
had.
know. I'm glad you asked because my relationship with rhyme is changing. So, or has changed. So, Resilient Young Minds, that's what RIM stands for, rhyme. That's my nonprofit organization. I started it in 2017. And our mission is to fight trauma with resilience to access healing. And the primary way that I do that is do retreats that are called resilience camps, and I started taking young people to the woods to discuss and release their traumas. And why I started that, I was in teaching. I was teaching in high school specifically. I taught kids that could not read in high school, so they were in ninth, 10th, and 11th grade. And my job was to bring their reading competency level to one that would allow them to access the Regents exam. So they had to be able to read at the reading level that the Regents exam would be written in so that they could be able to understand it and take it. Sad to say, like there's a lot of kids that fall into that category. Most of them technically are kids with special ed, but the way that program was, the way I taught we tested all the kids regardless of their status because there are a lot of kids that fall through the cracks. So long story short of it, I had a group of the kids that are like the most struggling kids, and I teach this program called Wilson Reading System. And there was this boy, young man in there that I didn't understand why he was in there because he was just like picking up everything fast. Like I felt like he could read. Like this is not a class for kids that can't read.
Mhm.
But part of it is like there was only 4 kids in the class, and I'm a person where you in my room, I need to know you're learning. I'm talking to you, whether you raise your hand or not. I'm talking to you. And he struggled with that because in his class, other classes, he's quiet. He gets to be the wallflower kid. And one day I asked him like, "What's going on? Like you look sad. What's going on?" And he was just like, Ever since my father died, it's like I don't care about school anymore."
Mm.
And so from that point on, I started to be more intentional. Like when I see my students say, "What was why you look sad or whatever," I'll just make it a habit to pull them after class. And that was the first group of kids, literally, that I ended up taking with me to the woods. And it got deeper. It was like kids that I knew from step team, or then this girl brought her friend with her. Like so, it was just random scattered kids. It wasn't like only the kids I taught, but the kids that I was more so connecting with
Right.
on that level that was screaming for adult
Mhm.
guidance. And I was that kid. Like I cut when I was younger, like I was screaming for adult attention.
Mhm.
And so I was like, all right, let's do this. We're gonna take them to the woods. Their parents trusted me. The lady that is at the school,
They were
people
looking
at
at
the
it
school
as
to go
respite, girl. They was looking at it as respite.
respite. Well, that's what I promoted to be now, right? Because at the time, though, they were in high school, right? I just now started like
Girl, they looking at
working.
it. Yo, you want them? Take them.
But now, yes, for sure. And I promote at that. But at that time it was high school. The parents, they wasn't even checking for them anyway.
That's what I was just about to
Now for
say. I was just
sure.
about to say, and they get an opportunity to go somewhere,
Yeah,
somebody's
yeah.
funding
With the
it. I
middle
don't have
school.
to
Yes.
find.
Mhm.
Go ahead. You want them? Go ahead, take
But
them.
it was crazy to me because there was a one young lady who was a friend of another student that I had, and she came up there with a story that we would have never set thought. And she was
Mm,
like, my brother like forced me to give him a fellatio when I was 8.
mm,
He was like, I don't know, she said he was 12 or 13 or something like that, but it was 2 kids. And I was just like, what? Like, I wasn't even considering that that's something that they might say. And then it's like she happened to be first or second, I remember. And then just the floods of their very real lives of
yes.
weight of things that
Yes.
happening to them. And that girl like boys, right? And so all the adults, what they got to say about this little girl that dressed like a boy, or she gay or this and that. But she had a real traumatic experience as it relates to her interaction with boys that impacted the journey that she is on.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like, but nobody want to take the time to sit and get to know the kids. Like they don't just do stuff just to do it because they can. Like,
Absolutely.
they actually have rationale, reasoning behind that they figure it out in their own mind or with their peers because they don't feel safe enough to trust their parents
Mhm.
to walk them through that.
A lot of times, and we're talking even with that young sixth grader with the knife incident, a lot of times the kids get the wrong response.
Hmm.
So they're taught, tell the adult. But in situations like that, we got to keep that under the rug. It turns into, don't let that go outside of this home. Don't let this go, or it gets totally dismissed, right? So there's a lot of young girls that do get violated this way, and it gets dismissed. They either lying, or I know that one of my very early social work experiences was a 12-year-old that was pregnant with twins that got molested from her stepfather, right? And her mother had the ideology that this little girl came on to this man.
Heard that one.
You understand what I'm saying? So, and to get the whole family dynamic was a bit hard,
Mm-hmm.
because here she is, she's 12, she's having twins, big pregnant. And this
Yeah.
is one of my first, landed cases, and I'm like, wow, this is, like you said, this is how social this is what social work does, right? It throws you into the lion den. You got to figure out how to navigate through that because your parents, and I remember being so mad at my parents, like you let you I was live sheltered life and you didn't explain that the real world is out there doing such horrible things to these kids. And and that's how I was. I was really, really mad at my parents for bringing me up right, right? I was really, really, really mad at them. Like you said, you young, you out of school, and I turned out, I'm like, no, that's not the real world. You know what I gotta go into, and it was definitely, definitely difficult in hearing the stories
Yeah.
and being compassionate in a way that's non-judgmental
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to create a space like you said. You got these kids out here and here you have to really turn it into a space of healing for them where they all can be heard, where they all can be it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay with whatever baggage you coming with. This is the place that we're gonna drag it into these woods and we're gonna leave it right here in these woods, right? Or we're gonna work on
Yeah.
ways on how when we leave these woods where we were definitely in a different place of acceptance,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why I asked, what is rhyme? So
Yeah.
that people could understand, the work that you do in the community. And one of the reasons why I keep bringing you back on as a trendsetter, talk to us about, I pivoted completely off of my stuff, but we'll talk next time. I guess we'll talk next time
I'm
about
excited when we run up the men. They're hitting. All us women is trying to. The heart is here for the men. We see them bleeding, and we're like, but we can't jump in until you're ready. Can't jump in. That like that.
right. So, you talked about the suicide walk. The suicide walk is coming up on the 20th. Talk to us about even how did that start? And I know that it's a part of your organization. You've been running this thing. We've supported for, last year we stepped in, we showed up. Talk to us about the suicide walk, even how that started.
We started rhyme. I started rhyme 8 years ago, and the first suicide walk was 7 years ago. So it was very at the start of rhyme. Suicide came into play because a lot of the things the kids shared, they all had moments where they wanted to take their life. I've had students come into my classroom when they are sad and like, oh, I had these feelings of wanting to take my life, and I felt that. I felt the way they felt. I used to cut. I used to be in that mental space. But when I was in college, I was introduced to the Out of the Darkness walk, and when
Mm.
I went, there was only like 10 people. It was not even a lot of people at the one I went to. And I came back to Brooklyn and I was like, yo, we walk for everything: AIDS, cancer, this, that, all that. I was like, but we don't walk for suicide. Like, suicide is really ripped, like, the voices of the
It's
people
taboo.
that
You
silent.
and you
Right.
understand, yeah, it's
It's
taboo.
covering and
Suicide,
silent.
now, when you started in
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
2017,
It was,
right?
it
In
was, it was
2017, it really was a taboo space.
so
Like,
taboo.
nobody wanted to accept. I mean, and we talk about parents all the time, Simone. We talk about how, and there's even, memes and comedians, Caribbean comedians that talk
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, you depressed? Go take
Go to
this
Jesus.
broom, go and clean your room and do something. You don't know what depressed is, and they start dumping their own
Yes, yes.
stuff.
You don't know what real stress
You
is.
don't know
Got no
what
car, no house, no this. That was my story. My mom used to do that to me too. It's just like what, and that's why I tell people kids are human too. Like when they go to school, they have a
I
whole
say that all the time,
they
even
gotta
with
deal with.
the young ones be stressed out too. They got 5-year-olds that be really, really, they come in, they throw their bag down and be like, okay, I'm gonna give you a minute, but and ordinary parents would be like, what happened? And da 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 da. We gotta step back a little while just to say, and I applied that because I know that I needed a minute, right? Before you start asking me about my day if I had a bad day. So I said, leave the kid alone. Let him, if you want to go and slam his door for a minute, let him figure that out. And then when he de-escalates, we can piggyback around and have a better conversation. So I had to learn in my own motherhood, and in other kids, this is I was doing motherhood while doing social work, with kids as well. So, we have to really understand that it's a stressful world, regardless of what age. Age doesn't make a difference to stress. You could be 3 years old and all stressed out. You see those kids heisting a toy behind somebody, they stressed out, they can't figure it out. They get all, intense. And that's why we give them tools now, breathing tools or social emotional skills,
Mhm.
that's your entrance. That's your entrance.
And they're doing great though. I have a lot of hope for the young men coming up that are getting this training. I think it's making a big difference. I think naturally and innately, because they're getting it, they're understanding their masculine parts. They're understanding when to calm down, when to step up. I see it in school. It's so cute. Um, and I think that I'm committed to doing that. Like, okay, let me teach social and emotional learning because that's
And
what I think that's
that's the platform that we hear. That's the platform that we're opening up with Trendsetters Talks. This is what we're doing with the ultimate social worker, Simone Muchette. This is what we're rolling out. We're rolling out a campaign, guys, for social emotional learning skills. And, Dr. Simone Muchette will be on talking to us about, getting these skills. You know me with my pen. I might even be
yeah,
taking notes, and I want everyone to, because we can all learn from these type of things. We've been taught and untaught and learning and unlearning a lot of things in this time, in this season. And in order for us to get it right, we need the right tools, we need the right instructions. And Simone did roll out a whole curriculum based on social emotional learning. And I wanted her to jump on and share that with the platform, because there's going to be a lot of things that we've overlooked in our life, in our parenting, and even our personal judgments. And if we know how to handle things more appropriately, I think that it will bridge the gap within a lot of things that's going on in our communities, right? And we'll be able to help the youth and guide them more appropriately. And this is what one of the things, this is really what we're rolling out. Trendsetters, one of the things that we're rolling out on Trendsetters this fall. So thank you, Simone. Thank you, thank you. We piggyback next week. We'll talk about Trendsetters, next gen summer 2025 internship.
yeah.
I want to keep our audience engaged. I wanted to really give this time to you so you can talk about what all that you do, so people could, really respond to this part of Trendsetters Talk, and respect the work that you do in the community and support you. So, with that being said, you got the Rhyme Summit, the Rhyme Walk, Suicide Walk coming up. How can people get involved? Where can they reach out to you if they wanted to get involved with that?
Definitely, if you wanted to go straight to Eventbrite and go to Rhyme Walk 2025, you can register there by donating. But if you simply go to our Instagram page at RYM_INC, the link is in the bio. You just make a donation of any amount and you would be considered as registered. Only folks that are registered in advance can participate. It's a festival style experience, so there'll be different actual activities. I'll be facilitating Zumba, and in order for it to flow the way it needs to flow, it's a communal experience. It's not like the AIDS walk or the breast cancer walk where you just sign up and come when you feel like it. No, it's still an itinerary. We're still a community because we want to protect the topic. We want to protect what's been happening. And honestly, that's how I've been doing it the last 7 years. And everyone's been fed full and feel safe and continue to
Most
come back.
definitely.
And so that's how we do it. So you want to register so you could get the information in advance so you can come that Saturday prepared. And I'm excited to meet you. If you do register, make sure you come and say hi to me so I could give you a hug. And yeah, that's pretty much it with the walk, you know. I'm excited for it. A lot of people
Yeah.
are involved this year.
Yeah, mental health is a topic that, it's very, 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 very fluid in our community,
Mm.
right? Whether it's taboo or not, whether it's swept under the rug, whether it's whatever, it is a part of our community. It is something that we have to face in our community, whether we want to talk about it or not. And I appreciate, you doing the good work out there in the community and having these conversations and curating these spaces where mental health is brought to the forefront. You are one of the frontliners that's out there really, doing your thing. And I commend you. Thank you for, being a stakeholder, being a stakeholder, because we have a lot of work to do with these youth collaboratively. And, this is what we do. This
Mhm.
is what we do. So thank you for being in the space and joining with us and doing what we do with the youth in our community and our communities, right? Because as you said, this is not a youth space alone, it's a community space. We want the community to heal. We want to encourage and empower our community every possible way. So please, please come out on the 20th. Please register. She's on Instagram, RYM underscore Inc. Please look her up, register any donation to support this. It does take, these things do take money, and she does have a real you're gonna get an agenda, y'all. Yeah, and 10 o'clock, this is what we're doing at 10. This is what we're doing at
Literally.
11. This is what you are. She's
I
meticulous.
love logistics. That's my neurodivergent
She's
brain.
meticulous that way. She's very, 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 you're gonna get an agenda and you're gonna keep getting those emails once you register. She's really on it. But that's what makes you the ultimate social worker. That's what makes you the ultimate social worker. Thank you. Thank you, Simone. It's been great having you. And guys, you know where to get us. Trendsetters Talk. We're back. We're back in full effect. And look, we're gonna talk next time about why I just, dropped off, right? Next time, next time. So same back channel, same bad time. We love you guys. Take care.